All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for attending, everyone, today. I'm Jennifer Slattery with the League of Cities and Towns, and welcome to another Workshop Wednesday. This week we have Josh Berry with us, who's going to talk to us a bit about municipal, the revised Municipal Fellows Program. Josh, thanks for being here.
Hey, Jen. Hey, everyone. Jen, thank you so much. I just want to quickly thank the league for all your support, bringing us together, helping coordinate so much good work. Always appreciate you guys. CJ, thanks for being on the call. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Joshua Berry. I'm in a new position with the Department of Housing. I'm the Chief of Municipal Planning and Programming. So I'd like to get to know you all better, as this is a new role and I'm new to this role as well. But my background, as many of you do know, is in municipal planning work. So I can really resonate with a lot of the issues that you all deal with on a day-to-day basis. And that work kind of led me here into this role because, housing and municipal planning are my passions. And so I hope to kind of help you all out in that capacity. And that's kind of what this program is all about. So I'm going to briefly introduce this program. Some of you already may be familiar with it because this is only a revised solicitation, but I'm going to go over everything in brief. Interrupt me with any questions at any time. Just kind of raise your hand. Just want to have this as a more conversational style. So it's no news to anyone. We have a housing crisis and we have staffing and planning resources in short supply. So the goal of this kind of program is simple. It's to address both of those at the same time by providing you staff and resources to address the housing crisis. And more specifically, the strategy is regarding increasing housing production. So that's kind of the way that the Department of Housing is, that's the main strategy for us to address this crisis. And so the eligible activities of this program are restricted to municipal planning, zoning, or development activities, provided that such relates directly to increasing housing development. So that can mean a lot of things. I know we're updating our zoning codes, we're updating our comprehensive plans, we're looking at creative ways, we're doing infrastructure analyses. So there is a lot of room for interpretation of what that means, but the greater that your application can articulate how that will lead to increased housing production, the higher you will score in the review process. So there was $1.3 million from COVID money that was committed to this program. A little bit of that was allocated for a program manager, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So there's roughly $1.1 million that's left to directly pay for the municipal fellows for the municipalities. So we're thinking that the maximum award would be $168,000 per municipality, which is $84,000 a year for up to 2 years. The municipality may choose, if they so desire, to supplement that in any way that they see necessary. But we feel that the program is designed to cover the entire cost of that fellow and benefits should you decide to provide them. Because we know that, adding additional cost requirements to municipalities is not something many have the capacity or interest to do. So this is sort of similar to the MTAP program, and where we're trying to cover all of the costs for your technical assistance needs. The difference with the MTAP program, however, is that the department would pay the municipality and then the municipality would pay the fellow. So it's slightly different in that regard. We want the fellow to kind of feel like an employee, even though on a temporary basis with the municipalities. I think, the longer term goal here is to create a little bit of a planning pipeline, for planners to come in, get their foot in the door with the municipalities, work within the municipalities, get that experience, and then hopefully fill in some of the positions that we're going to see open up as some of us are retiring. I know Mike DeLuca, Gene, there's going to be others as well. So there's going to be some positions that we need planners for. The term of the program is limited to 2 years. This is through the federal regulations. So we're saying that the program must expire by September 30th, 2026. And I just want to say that the scope of the work in which you apply for needs to justify the term. So please don't ask for a 2-year fellow when you have a 6-month project. We want to make sure that you're asking for enough work to be done that would justify a full-time employee working on that for the length of that scope. So just make sure that you're mindful of that in your application. All municipalities are eligible. I would say that some will be more competitive than others based on your staff level needs and also your housing needs. But that's something that you all articulate. No one is disqualified from applying. All municipalities are eligible. We do encourage regional projects or joint applications with multiple municipalities. I believe that that would help you within your scoring. It also, bolsters the idea that housing is a regional problem, if not greater. It's an international problem, really, but we don't want to just look at this from a municipal perspective. We realize a lot of your interests and needs are at a municipal level, and that's okay. So, we're willing to accommodate anyway, but we do incentivize joint applications. We wanted to make the application process as easy as possible. It's on a rolling basis, first come, first serve, with a deadline of October 1. That's when we will close the application acceptance period. There's only really 2 elements to the application: a narrative describing your needs, staff levels, and maybe just what's going on in terms of housing, planning, zoning activities, development activities that is relevant. And then just please describe the scope of work for the fellow, including the desired outcomes and the oversight that you'd be able to provide. We understand that you do have limited resources, but at the same time, we want the fellows to be able to learn and grow in their capacity, and we want some level of oversight, which would be necessary for them to thrive in their positions. So as I said, this is a revised solicitation. I just kind of want to briefly recap what has changed. Why did we make a revision to the solicitation? Well, first, we wanted to broaden the number of communities that would be eligible. So the evaluation criteria on the initial solicitation were a little bit restrictive, and it required 50% score of each subcategory. You would notice that the revised solicitation still requires 50% score, but not of each subcategory. And I think that was particularly restrictive if one was not doing a regional application and had an updated comp plan. They would have been ineligible under that subcategory. So we kind of loosened that up to make more communities eligible for the program. We did add some basic threshold criteria, but I think you will all, if you're interested in the program, I'm pretty sure everyone will meet those thresholds. We clarified how much money was available exactly and what it covered. We didn't really substantially change any of that. I think just the language makes it much more clear and transparent about what the money is for, how it would come to the municipality, and the time range. We did extend the termination of the program from the end of June 2026 to the end of September 2026. We realized we were a little bit late getting this program up and started, so we just also wanted to extend the end of the program accordingly. Applications would now be submitted to me. Previously, it was Mike Tondra. He's still with the department, so that they do go to him, he'll forward them to me. It's not a big deal. And then I just want to mention that the communities that did apply before the revised solicitation, you know who you are. I've been in touch with you all. You do not need to reapply, but I did want to give them the opportunity to make any changes to their application should they feel it necessary for their benefit. Did want to just briefly discuss where the fellows would come from. This is going to be ultimately the responsibility of the program manager. We have selected one. We're in the process of finalizing an agreement with a program manager. They would solicit for the fellows, manage the fellow pool, and match them with the municipalities. We are going to be looking at grad students, but also early career professionals. That's one thing that this revised solicitation also did, was kind of open up, in our perspective, who would be eligible to be a fellow. The purpose of this wasn't to be overly restrictive and narrow it down so that we couldn't attain fellows. But I think we want, early career professionals and recent graduates. We're looking at local universities, MIT, UMass Amherst, Roger Williams, UConn. But you also may refer a fellow should you choose. They must apply through the program, but if you have someone that you want us to have an eye on, encourage them to apply, let us know that you recommend them or you would like to work with them, and we will consider that information. The program manager will operate a 12-month learning program for the fellows. We want to make sure that they're progressing and as effective as possible with their tasks to the municipalities. So the program manager will put that together with assistance from Housing Works Rhode Island. So we do have some kind of local experience to assist in that process. But I think that really it's a simple program and there's not too much complexity to it. Happy to answer any questions you all have, and I do appreciate you guys taking time.
Josh, how many of you, Dan Perollo, how you doing?
Hey, Dan.
How many fellows are you shooting for? How many do you plan on having? Is that number been set yet?
It's not set. It's going to really depend on obviously the limitations of the budget and then what scopes we approve. I think it's around like 6 to 7 if all of the fellows were approved for a 2-year period. If the fellows weren't, then you're talking about, a 1-year period that opens up half of the money. I could end up doing more than 6, maybe 10 if we're doing a couple of shorter terms. So,
okay, thanks.
Yep.
And is the intention these folks would be in full-time, as a full-time employee?
So we're paying them as a full-time employee. We would intend that the scope of work to be approved would need to justify full-time hours. We want to give the municipalities a little bit of flexibility based on, their needs, and say the process for getting something approved may take longer. Maybe they want to have someone on at a 20 or 30-hour capacity, but for a longer time. I mean, we would be flexible, I think, to work with that. The intent of it at its outset was to be a full-time fellow that would work in the office. We know times are changing. Some remote work at the discretion of the municipality is okay. But we really do want them to learn about housing and municipal government and planning. And I think the best way to do that, especially for someone who's on, early career professional or recent graduate, is to be in person. It's a little bit difficult not to be in the trenches with you all. But, we're going to be open to that. We don't want that to be the thing that restricts as a primary factor.
Hey, Josh, Doug McLean here with Coventry. Quick question for you on eligible activities for the municipal fellow to work on. So Coventry is in a unique time. We have a lot of potential work to happen, and some of it's comp plan, some of it's code rewrite. But I'm curious, we have a significant number of development applications in front of us right now. I think our last planning board meeting, we had 1,000 units coming at us at a pre-app from 3 different projects. We expect, that even that much more again in separate projects over the course of the next year. Do you think that development plan review or the types of work like infrastructure analyses that might assist with that kind of development review is appropriate? Or are you trying to look at this as more background, creating code and policy?
Well, Doug, it's a good question. I think if you are able to articulate that at your current staffing levels, there would be a delay in housing production because you can't review a number of applications, then I think you have a really strong argument. I would love to see these fellows learn about the development plan review process, the planning process, any rezones, those kind of things. I think it's really important. But if you can handle all of that with your existing staff capacity, I'm not sure that you're going to score very highly in saying we want them to review applications. If your staff is already doing that and there's going to be no bottleneck for housing production, then I would say that wouldn't be as competitive as other asks.
That makes sense. So what I'm hearing from you is that we need to articulate how there's a limitation on existing staffing capacity, and it's that the fellow addresses a staffing limitation in order to advance either development review or housing goals or housing production in some form.
Yeah, the stronger the nexus, the more competitive the application.
Thanks.
Yep. I see a hand raised. I don't know you by first name. Hello.
Hi, I'm the new grant writer for the city of Woonsocket,
Hey.
Lara.
Hey, Lara.
Hi. The application is like a 2-page narrative, what you're looking for? Do you want a full detailed scope of work that's like 20 pages? Like, what is the ideal application look like?
Just a few pages. I mean, we want enough information. I can always, get back to you and ask for further information. I would say just use your discretion. I want to know what you want to do. I don't need to know every level of detail of it. Pretty much executive level summary of what the scope is and what the outcomes would be. If you want to do a zoning rewrite, give me the general topics, whether it's ADUs, whether it's mixed use districts, but I don't need to know the details of each of those specifically.
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of those kind of come out as you're doing the process itself. So,
right. Yeah. So
20 pages
right now
seems like an overkill.
20 pages.
Yeah.
Right now I have like a broad application that kind of lays out what the 2 years would consist of, and like the first year being learning, the second year being executing. But it's pretty short. It's like right to the point. I just don't want to be counted out because it's not detailed enough, but I also don't want to take up too many people's time with asking what projects are you working on, or like all of that. So I don't know. I just don't know how to make my application stronger for this. I don't know. If you have any tips?
I would just say the purpose of this application was to be brief. Like, it's designed to not be a burden to write it. So don't feel like if you're not spending 2 weeks writing it, that you're not doing a good job. That shouldn't be the fact. I just want it to be kind of straightforward. Shoot it as it is, and we'll take it from there. If there's an issue, like it's not clear, we'll let you know, and we can have a little bit of back and forth.
Okay. I did just want to let you know that we're putting it on the city council's agenda for the upcoming city council meeting for Woonsocket on Monday. So it has to go through that before I can apply, just so you know. So the application's been ready and reviewed by the 2 departments and everything, but we have to wait for city council approval before we can apply.
Excellent. I would just say, I mean, you said there'd be a year of learning. We do have that learning program that I mentioned. So we're trying to assist. Right. We do want to make sure that the majority of their time and effort spent is going to be directly with the housing production, not just their own professional edification. But I understand.
So the way that I kind of have
it
is like, it's not necessarily learning like the broad, it's more like that hands-on learning experience, like doing those time-consuming tasks like as an assistant in a sense. Like that's kind of how I have it phrased. Would I be allowed to like send you my application for you to look at it as a strength, but not take it as my application because it's not approved yet?
Why don't we just have a call offline, and you can just ask me kind of some more specific questions about that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Josh, I know you said the salaries are around 84,000 a year for the 2 years. Are they considered state employees, town employees? How about like health benefits? How does that work?
We want the municipality to decide if they can take them on in some kind of capacity, if they have the capacity to loop them into the benefits. I mean, we were figuring it'd be about a $65,000 salary with benefits, that the $84,000 would cover that. But that's really up to the municipality. Again, we didn't want to dictate the terms of how it works for you. Whatever works for you works for us. We give you the 168 over the 2 years, and you decide exactly on your agreement of how to pay the fellow.
but I can't give Doug a raise with that.
We'll figure something else out for that then.
No, the answer to that was yes, Dan.
Thanks.
Yep. Does anyone else have a question, comment, concern? Excellent.
All right, looks good. Well, thank you so much, Josh. Any other words that you want to, parting words of wisdom you want to offer?
No, just don't be shy. You know, if you have any questions and you're thinking about applying and you're not sure, just give me a call. I think, you know, my job is to grow the capacity between the municipalities and the state. I think we all know that it hasn't been ideal. And I do want to point out that we are under the Department of Administration, and our governor is very pro municipality. A lot of the state legislation may make some of the municipalities not feel that way, but we do not work directly for the General Assembly. So there is that distinction that I do want to point out. We do want to partner with municipalities to address the housing crisis. We can't do it without you. Please utilize me as a resource in accomplishing that. And I believe that this program is specifically tailored for this end.
Great. Wonderful. Well, if anybody else needs the document itself, please just send me an email, or Joshua, I'm sure, could get that to you as well.
Yep.
And yeah, I hope. I'm sorry, can you repeat the deadline too for us?
It's a rolling
October 1st?
application, October 1.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Thanks for attending, folks. And yeah, if you have other questions, just let one of us know and we'll find you some answers.
All right. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for being here, Josh. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.